Welcome to my Sickle Cell Life podcast. My name is Jan, and today we are talking to another warrior about her story with sickle cell.
Well, my
And I,
name, as you said, is Ruth Black. I am from the West Memphis, Arkansas area. I have sickle cell. I, what I've been told was SC, but I believe it's SS.
okay,
Um,
okay. And
so
how
I'm
old are
sorry.
you?
I am 31 years old. I am a preacher's kid, PK.
Yeah,
Um,
grew up in the church.
right. Still in the church.
Right. So, what was your childhood like with sickle cell disease?
Um, well, really, I don't quite remember anything before third grade, and that's how I remember the phases. That was is my grades.
Hmm.
Um, Third grade is when I really knew that sickle cell was an issue
Yeah.
for me. Um, I woke up in the middle of the night, just was really unable to breathe. Like, um, went into my parents' room. They said my face was blue. My complexion back then was even lighter than now. So
Oh, wow.
um, to be blue or to see blue on me back then was nothing.
Yeah.
Um, Lips were purple, the whole nine. So at the time, my dad was also a highway police, working with the highway police. So mom got up, jumped up, got dressed, woke dad up, told him to get dressed, got me dressed. Why we took so much time, I have no clue. But through the whole thing, I was unable to breathe.
Mm-mm.
Um, so the hospital is an hour away. So the whole time I'm just, oh goodness, oh God, just trying to breathe and yet calling on God.
Right.
Um, so we finally arrived and they tried to put it off on asthma.
Mm,
No, sir, I do not have asthma.
mm,
Um, my mother, who was a nurse, she left nursing to take care of her 10 children,
mm.
um, was a real advocate for me in that moment and demanded that they did all of the testing. Um,
Yeah.
but um, during that hospitalization, I was in there for almost a month.
Wow.
They pumped too much fluid
Mm,
or fluid too fast, put it like that.
yeah.
And I ended up going to the ICU, being in a medical seduced coma.
Mm,
Um,
wow.
when I
And
woke up, I had to learn how to walk, talk, eat all
mm,
over again. So,
oh,
um,
wow. And at such a young age like that. Oh,
right.
oh my goodness. S- So that was the first time sickle cell really showed you who she was and was like, yeah, this is something serious. And it's a shame that it starts so early on in the in our lives, so
Mhm.
early on in our lives we're affected by it. But thank God for your mother, like you said, for really being an advocate in that moment to demand that they do more. And
Right.
just think if they had sent you home, you know,
Mhm.
it's crazy. And they continue to discount what we go through, you know, still to this day. And you had that experience, you said, in the third grade?
Yes.
Wow. And so, excuse me. After that, how did um things change for you? Like once you had to relearn to walk, what was that? I mean, yeah, walk and talk and everything. Like, what was that process? Like, how long did that take you? Do you remember?
I think it took a couple of days. I know once I woke up, I was like, I'm ready for some food.
Yeah.
You know, let me just put it like this. I didn't miss a meal. I never missed a meal. I'm that type of person. So when I
Right.
woke up, I was like, man, where's the food?
Mm.
Because then they had me on a liquid diet um,
Oh
when
God.
I first woke up. Um, blended pancakes and sausage, and it was just
Oh.
horrible and horrific um, at that time.
Mm.
But thankfully, my dad would, bring in some McDonald's hotcakes and stuff like. But after that, um, I realized because I think what set that on was soccer. I, played soccer for a season,
Uh-huh.
um, and I did equestrian, which is, for horseback riding lessons at the time, which I loved. My horse was named Black Star and the whole nine. Oh, my goodness, I miss the horse.
Oh wow.
But um, once that happened,
Uh-huh.
I was really saddened that I would not be able to ride horses again um,
Oh wow.
because of the I associated riding horses with that episode, But um,
Yeah.
and I haven't gotten on a horse since.
Oh wow.
But I couldn't play outside in extreme weather, whether cold or hot or
So
um,
so you were really limited after that. But
correct.
yeah, that that's what that's what sickle cell does. It's I guess you have to look back and cherish that you were able to do those things, you know,
Mhm.
because sickle cell really tries to keep you, disabled and down, and can really, really hinder your ability to do a lot of physical activities and things like that. And so, how often are you having um, crises and that put you in the hospital and like debilitate you?
Um, well, about 2 to 3 times a year.
Okay,
Um,
that's a lot better than some.
Look, I'm very grateful and thankful and blessed um, to be able to do all that I know to do. And then plus on top of that, it helps having a mom who was a nurse,
Yes.
um, being in your corner.
Oh yes. Oh yes. I Yeah. It's that really, really shows how important family is when it in this sickle cell journey, because if you do not have support, it and a person to advocate for you when you cannot advocate for yourself, these doctors will run all over you. They will literally kill you if you let them. And we
And sorry, in reality, that's what they tried to do in third grade when they pushed fluid that
Yep.
fast.
Mhm. Yep,
When
it
my
is.
mother warned them, look, her body can't handle fluid at that rate. I was alert when my mother said that.
Yeah, so thank God. And is your mother your biggest advocate, would you say? Or do you have, you know, other family members that'll go to bat for you too?
My mother is my biggest advocate, but I also have a sister that is a social worker in the hospital that I frequent,
Mm-hmm.
and she's really been a help and a blessing and an advocate during hospitalization. Um, this past time, I was in the ER because of a gallbladder episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I was checked in at 7:45 that one morning, and I didn't have a room until
Mm-hmm.
11 that night.
Wow.
And I probably would have still been sitting in the waiting area because, first of all, well, they, so I have a port. So they were saying, well, we thought you wanted your port access. No, I did not say that. I said whatever method would get me in the pack the quickest.
Right.
So um, my sister was at work that day, thank God.
Right.
Um, and she frequented the ER. And once she got off, she sat with me. And I mean, within an hour of her sitting with me, we were in the back.
Yep. Yep.
So,
It, they really really treat you a whole lot differently when they know that there's an extra person there to witness everything.
definitely.
Because when my husband accompanies me to the ER, and
Mhm.
and versus when I go by myself, it's a completely different experience. And it is sad because each time I am having an episode of sickle cell crises or something, like a reason to be there, you know, not
Right.
just for medication as they try to portray us as, you know, just the drug
Mhm.
seekers that are only trying to come to get high. And it's a shame that we even need advocates outside of ourselves for the doctors to do what they're supposed to do. So,
Right.
do you have, um, you know, your trusted hematologist and team of doctors that you can rely on, that you trust to do the right thing?
Not at all. Um, in my childhood, there was one doctor that followed me from, I don't know, I guess first grade up to 12th, but he passed.
Oh,
And he was really, really good. And his name was Dr. Grover Barnes.
oh
Man, that was a statue of a man.
man,
But,
yeah, I get it.
and he taught me, he wasn't a hematologist. He was a general
Mm-hmm.
practitioner, but he taught me what I now know about sickle cell. And each time I would go to him, and I would have to go to the hospital after the visit. He would say, "Well, Miss Ruth, look like it's time to go to the big house."
uh,
My stomach would just sink. Oh my goodness! But he taught me that the WBC white blood cell count is pretty much what you weigh things by. But
right.
my hematologist now says, and I won't disclose his name, but says that the WBC it fluctuates depending on how you're feeling. Who ever heard of such a thing?
Right. Because
Um,
I was under the impression that your white blood cell count tells you if you have an infection of some sort, and if it's really
Mhm.
high, that means your body is fighting something. There may be an infection or something going on somewhere. That's
Right.
what I was. Mhm.
So it's kind of crazy that the body is fighting and that you also have to fight for antibiotics now.
Mm.
Because my WBC has been upwards of 31, and they still are fighting and debating me
Mhm.
on giving me antibiotics.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy that we have to fight just to get the basics of care, you know? And
Mhm.
they think that we don't know anything or that we're clueless. When you just said that you had a doctor to educate you, but yet there's other doctors even fighting against what that doctor said. So
Correct.
it's like, what in the world? It's a bunch of chaos, and that's why so many of us are dying, you know,
Mhm.
because we have one person telling us this and another person telling us that. And it's like, who do we believe? And then they don't believe us when we're telling them how we feel,
Mhm.
in this moment. But anyway, I want to kind of shift and talk about how sickle cell has impacted you in your social life and your work life and things like that.
Um, well, sickle cell has impacted me. Um, can I include family life in that too?
Oh yeah, social,
Okay.
family, all aspects of how it has affected you.
Um, well, after that episode of the third grade, sickle cell, my oldest sister um, was born with sickle cell. So I really looked up to her.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, she has six passed. She passed in 2007. She had three wonderful children, two girls and a boy. One of the females has has sickle cell trait.
Hmm.
Um, but as far as
Yeah.
so that's family life, and that
Did she pass away from complications of sickle cell?
yes. She went into the hospital. No, she went to the doctor that Monday.
Mm.
Supposed to be a regular schmegular checkup,
Right.
and the doctor admitted her into the hospital. And um, that Tuesday, we got the no, that Wednesday morning, we got the call that we should come to the hospital. And so we swooped up her children and her mother in law, and we all went to the hospital. And it was something in me that told me that she was gone, even before we got the news
Oh
that she
wow.
was gone. And I think that was just the connection that we had with each other. Um, so we went into the hospital. Her room was right by the nurse's desk, and we walked past. I vividly remember thinking, "Well, that's Harriet's room right there. Why
Mm.
aren't we going in there?" And We went into the family room and we waited and waited and waited. It seems like for about an hour and a half. And the doctor finally came in and told us that she was gone.
Mm-mm.
And the sound of grief filled the room.
I'm so sorry. I, I
Um,
I'm so sorry, and um, I'm sorry for your loss, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that. And thank you for being willing, to share about your sister's, story and that, you know, intimate details of how you found out your sister was no longer here. And so, did the doctors explain to you guys exactly what happened, or they just were like, she's gone and no answers?
they did not. Um, they didn't, which is part
Wow.
of the reason I kind of blame them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, but it's
They should have been able to.
mhm.
Yeah.
Um, let's see, social life. I was never really able to. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. I went to 3 real schools growing up. One was a public school in a predominantly African American community, and I found one friend there. Her name was Raven,
Mm.
and I mean we were thick as thieves. I was there from pre-K up to second grade. And I think that the reason that we were thick as thieves is because she was sick as well.
Mm.
Um, she needed a heart transplant. And um, once I left or transferred schools in the third grade, we lost contact. Um, but I heard that she received a heart, which I was, so glad and grateful for. Um, so the second school that I went to was a private Caucasian school.
Yeah.
And there I had 3 friends, um, an Indian and 2 Caucasians.
Mm-hmm.
And, they were, we were a bunch, we were a thing.
Yeah.
Um, just like at the African American schools, public school, we were still thick as thieves.
Yeah.
Um, nobody amongst them, nobody else amongst them was sick. Um, I don't think anybody in the whole school had any serious um, disease or anything of that nature. But I was the only African American in the elementary side. My brother um, was on the high school side, and he has some African American friends over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third school that I went to was a really, really, really small private school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you know how back in the day they used to have school and church.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was it.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I stayed there for 1 year. I did not make any friends. The teachers were actually more of a friend to me than the students.
Yeah.
Um, and then I was homeschooled. So from seventh grade up, I was homeschooled. Um, and I asked my mom, I was like, Mom, I want to go back to school. Why can't I go back to school? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and she was just, well, because of your because of the sickle cell, it really doesn't work with the school schedule. So,
Mm-hmm.
in which I am pretty sure I was on the verge of flunking a couple of grades because of so many absences growing up.
Yeah. So, and so has that affected your ability to like maintain friendships because people tend to get mad when you can't always hang out with them. You can't go everywhere that, they go and do everything that they do. And so they just, stop calling, stop checking in, stop inviting you to stuff.
Um, well, in college, um, I was blessed to have a roommate that was a nursing major.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and let me see, that was 14. We've been friends ever since 2014. Um, we, she lives like 2 hours away. So we don't get to see each other that often. Um, but when we do, it's always a, big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then I have this, well, I had another friend. We were friends since 2012, or acquaintances since 2012. And she just one day up and told me, look, you're not checking in on me like I'm checking in on you. Um, either we can fix this or whatever. So I'm like, okay, cool. Just give me a week to try to repair things.
Mm-hmm.
So I was checking in on her every day for the first 4 days. Then I skipped the fifth day and I was like, oh man, I do apologize, whatever, whatever, woo, woo. And do you forgive me? Haven't heard from her since. So that was a friend loss. But as far as other acquaintances and friendships, um, church is my go-to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have developed um, many acquaintances through church um, that that are understanding of my situation.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we all need that support and that community, you know, to keep us
Mhm.
uplifted. And it's good that you can find refuge in people at church, you know.
Correct.
And so what would you say, is it difficult to maintain employment sometimes because of hospitalizations and things like that, pain crises?
Um, yeah, see, I've only had 3 jobs in my whole lifetime. Um,
Oh.
one was Cutco, just selling knives. That was kind of a on your own schedule type thing.
Mhm.
Um, Subway, and the job that I'm currently employed at. So Cutco, I had I was in the hospital during one of their really big meetings,
Mhm.
and because of that, I was terminated. Um, Subway was just you know, it was a
Mhm.
fling or whatnot, a fling of a job. Um, because I just wanted to save up, have some more work experience. Um, it was great. I loved it. You're on your feet all day at that location, but somehow I managed to work with it. Um, and then my current employment, um, my mother actually went back to school to become to get her teaching license,
Mhm.
and she opened a daycare with that. Um, so that is where I am currently employed. And
Yeah.
this job is like A1 steak sauce. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. So you have just been abundantly blessed because nobody's going to understand your situation like your mother,
Correct.
because these employers out here, they do not care if you're sick. They don't care if you're on your deathbed. They don't care what you're going through. They will fire you if you are not here. So you definitely have to count your blessings when it comes to that. You have a solid community, and I just can't stress enough how important that is with this sickle cell journey and all of the things that we go through. You know, it
Mhm.
it really is good to hear that. But as of right now, what do you think the sickle cell community needs the most?
As of now, I believe that the sickle cell community needs R&R, rest and recuperation.
Mm,
Um, like from the, I mean, because being a sickler, some people have an issue with using the term sickler, but
yeah,
um, with having sickle cell, and the different hospitalizations and things of that nature, dealing with the attitudes of your doctors and physicians and different healthcare,
yeah,
period. Um, and not really listening or believing you and your pain. Um, I believe
right.
the sickle cell community just needs some rest and recuperation from all of that.
Yeah.
Um,
It's so funny that you say that because the last episode of the podcast of season one, I talked about the importance of rest and recovery. So it's so funny that you say that because it's so true. We need to prioritize our rest because we
mhm,
go through so much, from our body to our family to, this healthcare workers. We go through so much on so many different levels. So, what do you do to keep it all together mentally, besides the R&R? I know that we need the R&R, but what do you do personally to keep yourself from going crazy and getting overwhelmed and things like that? Because I know a lot of warriors that don't have any techniques of how to, calm themselves down and things like that.
Um, so I've been on a juicing kick.
Mm.
Um, so when I feel up to it, I have a bag of apples, I juice them. But before the juicing kick, um, when I would read the Bible, um,
Yeah.
things like that. I would like to hum. I would do the um, oh my goodness, I do not remember his name, but William Winhoff, breathing technique.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not sure who it is, but yeah, breathing techniques are good.
right. So, I would never be able to get it, or perfect it, but at least I would try, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and my family, I would just go to them and say, look,
Yeah.
I'm having a rough time.
Yeah.
And they would give me encouraging words.
That-
Um, but yeah, I think
That's that's shout out to mama and daddy for being. I wish
serious.
I had the clapping. I'll put the clapping sound on it. Like, shout out to them, hand claps to them for being a solid support system, because baby, not everyone is as supportive. And especially when you get into adulthood with sickle cell, and not many are willing to stay on this crazy roller coaster ride with us, So you definitely have to take time to applaud and thank and appreciate all the people in your life that have your back when you are down, you know, you really do. But
Right. And I'm sorry,
mhm,
so you said a lot of people aren't willing to stay on this roller coaster ride with you. That's both in the sickle cell community and in on the support system.
yeah,
Um, as for me, I am planning to get a bone marrow transplant. Um, hoping to get on that road sometime next year. It has been 2 years so far in trying to obtain such a thing. Um,
eh, I pray that you can get through it and everything, um because not everybody, has that option. So it's a real blessing if you can really get on the road to curing yourself and living a better life.
thank
Um,
you.
is there anything that you want to talk about that we didn't talk about? Anything that you want to bring up that we didn't?
Um, I guess the um, route that my sickle cell has taken is it has given me pulmonary hypertension, and I kind of attribute gallstones to having sickle cell as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
but as far that's the only pause in proceeding with the bone marrow transplant is the pulmonary hypertension
Yeah.
because I am in the now the label severe um, with the pulmonary hypertension. So um, if we can just get that to moderate, then we'll be able to proceed with the stem cells transplant, bone
And,
marrow transplant, excuse me.
mhm. And so, what are they doing? I mean, what are they asking you to do to get yourself back into the moderate stage?
Right now, I am on Olympus and Opsummit.
Hmm.
Um, I was on Olympus for a year, and they did angiogram, a heart catheterization
Hmm.
to see if it had improved, um, but it didn't. That's when they added the Opsummit, and I've been on that for about 2 months. But if I'm honest, I still feel the same. Um, so um, I think that's all for the pulmonary hypertension and to increase exercise.
Okay. Okay. And so that machine that you were talking about
Oh,
earlier, uh,
my
what
buddy,
yeah.
um, is a PLC, a portable oxygen concentrator.
Mm,
Um, it's my buddy. Um,
oh, okay.
it
And
takes
you carry that around for what? I'm sorry.
it takes oxygen from the air and concentrates it and puts it through a nasal cannula in a concentrated form that I'll be able to utilize.
Okay. And so is it like an emergency or is it something you have to wear all the time, or how does it work?
Well, if I'm honest, I am supposed to be wearing it all the time, but because of the noise and things, I don't want to disturb people. I'm very thoughtful in that way.
Right, but you got to be thoughtful about yourself too.
I got you. But yeah, that's the story of the POC.
Okay. And that's because you have the pulmonary hypertension?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, I also have pulmonary hypertension, so it they haven't
Oh,
put me, I don't know what category I'm in or whatever, but like they haven't tried to put me on any kind of oxygen or anything like that. I mainly just get breathing treatments and stuff like that whenever I'm admitted. And yeah, so
mhm.
that's why I'm kind of curious as to what that is, because I I don't know what's in my future that could be in my future regarding pulmonary hypertension. I
Mhm.
pray not, but thank you for educating me on that, because I've never used it or anything like that. So, but it's just like it goes around your nose, right? Just like an oxygen machine, or is it like a
Correct.
mask that you?
Well, they have different attachments that you can put on the end of it. So you could use a mask or you could use the medical cannula.
Okay, okay, that's cool. Um, so I had some bonus questions. Have you gotten a chance to um see any of the podcast episodes?
I have not, unfortunately.
Okay. I definitely would like you to check it out. I talk about pain in the first episode, and how the doctors don't want to adequately treat our pain, and how they are literally on TikTok making fun of their chronic pain patients and things like that. And it's very, very mortifying. So what is your opinion on the pain medication and the way that they treat us regarding our pain?
Um, Pain for a sickle cell patient, in my opinion, is
Hmm.
something that can't be monitored with a blood test or um,
Yeah.
that doesn't display
Yes.
um, anything or any symptoms. So you just have to go on the word of the patient.
Hmm.
But um, as for me, I'm still on Tylenol 3. My mother, my mother would kill me if I would bring anything stronger than a Tylenol 3 into the house. Uh,
I get
but
it.
right, so when I go to the hospital, they give Dilaudid. That's part of my pain regimen, my pain plan at the hospital.
Hmm.
Um, so to go from Tylenol 3 to Dilaudid is something really miraculous. Um, but the lack of, I'm sorry for going back and forth, but the
Okay.
lack of sensitivity to pain with African Americans in the African American community
Hmm.
is really sad and has saddened me because I believe that that kind of attributed to the death of my sister,
Hmm.
um, the neglect, um,
Yes. Eh,
and I don't know. It's just really something that something needs to be done about it. We put it
yeah.
like that.
Yes. Definitely. Definitely. Agree with you on that. It is a big uh what do you call it? It's a big issue. It's a big issue. It's a big sore spot for us in the medical community, and I feel like it's always been an ongoing fight. You know, it's always
Mm.
some ongoing fight to get our pain adequately treated, to get the quality of care that everyone else is receiving. It has always been a challenge for us. Uh, what has been your biggest challenges with sickle cell? What do you think are your biggest challenges with sickle cell?
Um, with having sickle cell, I've had at least two TIAs, which are mini strokes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so being able to remember is kind of difficult. That's the reason I started at the third grade. There are still some things that I remember prior to third grade, but it's not related to or sickle cell related.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that um, pulmonary hypertension, I can't um, do as many things as I used to do. Um, I used to play volleyball. I used to run around on the front yard with my nieces and nephews, my great nieces and nephews,
Mm-hmm.
and on and on. But now I have to find a chair and sit down.
Right. You
Um,
find yourself getting winded a lot.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
My lips still turn blue and the whole nine. Um, when I'm too winded. Um,
Mm-mm-mm. So it's been a lot of challenges. It's and I'm asking because you know, I go over some of my challenges in episode 2. But do do you have different ways of like releasing your pain and anxiety and things like that? Like, because I know in our community there's people that draw, that write poetry and things of that sort to help them distract from the pain and help keep them in a good mental state. Do you have anything like that, like alternatives to pain relief?
I write. Um, and if you don't mind
Hmm.
me, oh snap, sharing something that I'd written.
Okay, I'm excited.
um, it's a letter to sound waves.
Okay.
Um,
I write poetry. I've written poetry all my life, and I love writing, So I have
mhm.
so many journals. I journal everything, my prayers and everything. So when I tell you I'm excited, I'm excited. I I love to, hear the ways that we express ourselves, and especially regarding sickle cell and things like that.
Well, I don't think this one is really regarding sickle cell. It's,
Oh, I
more of a,
I
oh,
I
okay.
you know, talking about me. I really,
Oh,
you don't have to talk about it in the poem, but when you do, it's like even something special. But yes, I want to hear it regardless. Whatever you come up with to express yourself is worth hearing.
okay. It's called A Letter to Sound Waves. I recently heard that sound waves never stop. Even when it's inaudible, sound waves keep going into eternity. So what's wrong with the sound waves of the cries for my uncle, for the longing of us to sit and watch TV? And he squirmed because the movie I chose had too much violence. How I cried for the connection I missed with his speech because the cancer had choked it out of him. How I cried when I found out he had cancer, but told no one. How the autopsy showed that it started in his pancreas, but couldn't help but to make him mute. What wavelength can I find his last words? Him calling my name, him giving us a history lesson. What's wavelength? Sound waves. I have another uncle who didn't have a voice in his last day. In his last days, can I hear him too? He entered the hospital with his voice, but had to be kept medically sedated, but he didn't come out of sedation. How I missed how he would have to bend down to enter our house because he would have hit his head if he hadn't. I just want to hear his infectious laugh one more time. Sound waves. I don't hear the sound of my best friend's heart. I no longer hear the sound of people cheering at the game she was at when she dropped dead. Those sounds are replaced by panic and ensuing ambulances. Sound waves, that heart was supposed to be the heart that lasts. Someone gave their life so my friend could live. What wavelength is her laughter on? What wavelength can I find her heartbeat on? Sound waves, I have so many requests, but this is my last one for now. It's my sister, not the baby one, but the oldest one. Her sound wave was not taken by cancer. nor by a bad heart, but by bad blood. The same blood that runs through my veins. This one was unexpected and sudden. Like the day she died was her husband's birthday. Like, I guess she got what you wished for, Sam. Your wife is dead. And for the mortician to say, if it hadn't happened today, it would have happened tomorrow for sure. Give me tomorrow's sound waves. I need those. I'm demanding those. Also, give me the sound waves of her literally laughing out of her recliner. You remember sound waves, right? It was family game night, and Caleb made a dry joke, which was unusual because he was in his phase of not joking. But everyone laughed, and laughed especially hard when they got a glimpse of my sister on the floor laughing. I should have known that it wouldn't be long before death came knocking. What frequency is that sound wave on? You know what? I'll find it myself. But let sound waves know, no, but sound waves let memories know that he's slipping. I'm trying to hold on to him, but I just can't seem to. Let imagination know that he needs to work with memories so I can create new realities with these people. So I'll let you get to it, sound waves.
Oh, wow. Wait. Thank you. That was beautiful. Um,
And
wow.
that
That
was the first time I shared anything that I'd written with anybody other than my family.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Thank you
Okay.
so much for being willing to do that. Thank you so much for being open and vulnerable to share your art, to share intimate things that you've written. Thank you so much. I do not take that lightly. I really do appreciate you um, for this interview. I I am so glad that we met. Um, Thank you for sharing your story with us.
No problem. Thank you for having me, and thank you for actually being on the front lines of sickle cell advocacy.
Thank
Um,
you. Yes, I have. I've been on for a long time, and at one point I was getting paid to do it, and now I'm not. But I would do it all over again, and I would do it for free because I'm very passionate about it. I'm very passionate, and our stories are important, like I said. When I was doing this, when I was, you know, trying to get people together to interview, that was my main purpose for this, to tell our stories, to get us further, and especially if we're moving as a group and not as one. And so thank you for being open and willing, because not everyone, is open and willing. Some are skeptical, some have doubts. Um, so thank you again. Um, do you have any questions for me? Any other topics that you feel like we need to go a little bit deeper into before we officially wrap it up, because we're coming to the last 15 minutes.
awesome. Well, for my sickle cell treatment, I am on the highest dose of hydroxyurea that is possible, which is 400 or 500 milligram tablets, and I also do monthly apheresis. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just thought I'd just put that out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And for people that may not know what you mean about apheresis, excuse me,
um,
of course, we know in the sickle cell community, we know what it is. But for the people that we're trying to educate who don't, what is that process?
it's where 4 liters or units of my blood gets taken out of my body, and 4 units of blood get replaces the units that were taken out. And that is part of the reason for the port. Um, because if I didn't have the port, then I would have to get a long needle in my right and a long needle in my left. And it was no guarantee that the apheresis would be uh, complete if
Mm-hmm.
I had the 2 needles in my arms.
Uh,
Um, so that was just because it was so many blood clots. It would be so many blood clots. They would have to
right.
stop and then start and then stop and then
Yeah.
start. And that
Right.
whole process was just
Yeah.
difficult
Oh,
before
yeah.
I got the port.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so you do that on a monthly basis, you said?
Yes,
Okay. So, um, do you think that helps in keeping you healthy and out of the hospital and things like that?
I believe so. Um, I can truly attribute some of that to
Mhm.
that, the apheresis. Um, yeah, but this last hospitalization I had apheresis, and my nurse was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, you're going to be jumping off the walls." No, really not. Because your body gets used to it
Mm.
after you've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
Um, so she came in my room and she was surprised that I was knocked out, and I was like, "Yeah."
Right. It's like it's not a energy drink where, you drink it and now you're crazy energized, It's
Exactly.
not like Red Bull is going to give you wings or something. you know.
Right.
They think that, because we're not used to having the full normal blood, that it's going to give us some burst of energy all of a sudden, and it's like,
Hmm.
no, it's really just helping my body function more adequately, because our bodies are functioning at such a low level sometimes because of the lack of blood, you know,
Hmm.
because there's more sickle cells than there are red blood cells. So this those blood, when they get in there, that blood has a lot of work to do. you know
Yeah.
so they these some people call them normies, the normal the normal people, the
Right.
normies don't understand,
Hmm.
what we go through. But uh so thank you for explaining that process. And we all obviously know that there are so many treatments, so many just different processes that you have to go through dealing with this disease. It really is why we call ourselves warriors. And you today have shown that you are a warrior. In fact, you
Thank
have
you.
been through enough. You have been through so much. You have survived and are thriving on top of that. Not only surviving, but thriving. So, thank you again for being a part of this and changing the narrative, because we're taking back our narrative, In 2025 and beyond, we are taking back our narrative that sickle cell is a death sentence. Sickle cell is nothing but a bunch of drug seekers. Sickle cell this, sickle cell that. You know what? Well, sickle cell and the people in this community are going to be okay. And we do some great things, okay? And Ruth Black is a prime example of doing great and living well with sickle cell, okay? So, if y'all out there, the people out there in TV land, internet land, social media land, if y'all don't know, this is a warrior right here. So get in with her, okay? All my sickle cell warriors, make sure to tap in with us, connect with us, okay? Warriors United. That's what we're doing over here. Anything you want to say, Ruth, before we get out of here, or anything you want to ask me?
I just want to thank you for um, giving me a platform to get both my story and my sister's story, or part of my sister's story, out. Um, it's been a story that I've been holding for, well, since 2007, so for some years.
Yeah.
So I just
And
want to thank you, Jean, and keep on keeping on, keep on keeping up the good work.
thank you so much. And thank you again. And I hope that in the future you will be open to doing a follow up and, checking in with us to see where you are and to maybe even talk about, different topics regarding sickle cell, you know?
Most definitely. I've been looking forward to it.
Yes, me too. So, this will not be the last time that you and I talk. And prayerfully, this will not be the first or last time that you appear on the podcast. Thank you
Awesome.
again. I just want to say thank you guys to our audience. Thank you. Please, please, please subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Follow us, like, comment, share, okay? All of that good stuff, all right?
All
And
of that.
we'll period. And we'll see y'all later. We're out of here.